Welcome to this episode of 20 Minute Tims. This is a Patreon mailbag special. We have went to the Discord and asked them for some questions about Celtic, sort of trying to keep it as serious and as serious questions for real as we can. I'm joined by Stephen and Melly. How are we doing, boys?
Oh, wonderful. We have it's an international break, lads. Needless to say, we are overjoyed. In fact, you know what? No sarcasm. I'm actually jumping for joy that it's an international break. For a change, this might be the most popular international break of all time. In the international break, the Scotland team are saying to us, well, if it isn't you coming crawling back after slagging us off this entire time, like an international break, do you?
Melly, the podcast professional there, just watched me sneeze and saw no reason whatsoever to fill in anything at all. Just for full transparency, we're recording this just after the transfer window slammed. Yeah. We recorded the flagship yesterday and we made some proclamations, didn't we, Stephen, about Iheanacho joining Celtic.
Yep. No.
We doing a lot of heavy lifting there for you, Jamie.
Okay, so it's me. I've got to come clean. I was really scared. I thought so. All through the transfer window, we discussed this feeling that we've got about this isn't it. This is this thing actually happening. And I thought to myself, there's just no way that we're actually doing the thing where you open up transfer market and go through the free transfers. I says we're not actually going to the free transfer market. I mean, I was aware that we were inquiring about him, but then it was inquiry. He was released on a free. I saw that some Turkish clubs were interested in him, some South American clubs were interested in him, and there was rumours of Saudi. And I thought, well, do you know what? With that money on the table, because I'm aware that Turkey and Saudi Arabia offer way more money than Celtic do, I thought, do you know what? There's nothing in it. And moreover, he's not really a Brendan Rodgers type player. And moreover, I just think Brendan would rather run with Daizen, Shin, and Johnny Kenny this season than bringing yet another striker, because that would mean we're probably going to have 4 because we've got so many left wingers. I just thought it's a mess. It's not going to happen. Anyway, it happened that he's here. And don't I look like a mug? And it's a peculiar signing. It is a very weird one. It's peculiar for a couple of reasons. One, as I pointed out already, every winger we've signed more or less, including Jota, who's crocked at the moment, plays on the left wing along with Daizen. So it's a crowded area of the pitch. Yeah. And I thought that would mean Daizen was going to play in the middle. So we don't need any strikers there. That probably will still be the case. It's a curious one because he's not been the Iheanacho that we know or that you might know of for 5 years, maybe, about
his best season was 5 years ago by a long...
Yeah, he did score against us. I remember that. He scored in the game that Paddy Roberts...
So he did,
in the Man City game.
And then bang, like that, the deal is done. We swoop.
8 years later, Brendan remembers. No, and also he's not going to be fit. Presumably, he's not going to be fit to play. Depending on how much pre-season work he did, but there's a complaint in Middlesbrough that he wasn't very fit. He's not going to be fit to play until October. He's going and then January's just round the corner. I don't know. So it was a weird one all in for me, but we're going to get questions on it. But I don't want to do too much prejudging. I was pissed off at the window. Everyone was, and I'm pissed off at the state of the squad. Everyone is, and I'm pretty pissed off at that transfer. But one thing that's not going to bring any sort of positive outcome is just being pissed off from now until May. You call it acceptance, call it cope, or whatever you want. All the guys are here, including Iheanacho. I'm prepared just to see how he gets on. I've got a fair idea that he's not going to set the header alight, but I'm prepared to just see how he gets on.
Similar boat. So, see, in the interest of, do you know, I was actually going to say meeting Celtic halfway there. They've not done that. I am doing all of the work here. I'm doing all of the olive branching towards the club here, right? In the interest of just getting on with things, after this, I'm just going to stop ranting, because I take absolutely no pleasure from that. I take no pleasure from coming on here and moaning. I never signed up for this, but I've done enough of that very recently when it came to the transfer window, when it came to losing to Kyra and then drawing with Rangers all in quick succession. That all happened in the space of about a fortnight, and it was very deeply unsatisfying time to be a Celtic fan. So in the interest of just moving on with things, after this point, I'm going to just shut up and do that. But Iheanacho, I have to be honest at this point, and I do leave aside the distinct possibility that it could be a roaring success, but nothing about it screams that at all. There isn't a hint of evidence that is going to be a successful signing in the slightest. Could completely shock me and us and I don't know. I assume there's been quite a lot
Brendan.
Yeah, Brendan. Yeah, I assume there's been quite a lot of, shall we say, disappointment at the signing. Now, bear in mind, the full context of it is we sold our number one striker, Adam Maeda. Whatever you thought of him and whatever his long-term suitability to the role was going to be, what we did was we sold the most expensive striker who's ever played for Celtic and replaced him with a guy who has been a fairly catastrophic flop at his last two clubs, namely Middlesbrough and Sevilla, and hasn't really done a huge amount for Leicester in the last 3 or 4 seasons. So I'd be astonished if this works out in any great way, but it could. It certainly could. He doesn't strike. What I said about it at the time, look, we can put any spin on this we like, and we can do the whole thing, he deserves a chance, get behind the guy, he's here to pull on the hoops, etc. And I don't disagree with that. But what I said at the time, you can put any spin on this you like, but this is a 2010s Neil Lennon / Ronnie Deila era signing. This is not we're a serious Champions League competitor club now signing. It just is not. However you spin it, and I know that people are naturally optimistic about Celtic players. I tend to be as well, but this one has really got me. This one is just really, really bitterly disappointed me. But I need to go on with it now. It is one of those times where I'm just going to have to suck it up and hope Celtic know better than me about the direction of the club. I'd be amazed.
Melly's smiling away there.
Yeah, I'd be genuinely amazed if that works out, because, as you say, Jamie, he's not going to be fit for ages. I had a quick look and he's played 30 odd minutes across 2 friendlies for Nigeria since about April. That's the sum total of his contribution, and it's not even competitive games. So he fell out of the team for Middlesbrough. He scored 1 goal in 15 appearances for them. Hasn't played for Sevilla since December, so there's nothing really to go on there. The track record obviously was on loan, so there's nothing there. And with reports coming from Middlesbrough fans that he is woefully out of shape for what was expected of him, it doesn't bode well. I'm going to stop talking about it now because I can feel myself going on and on and on, right? But there is a perception out there, and it's one of those kind of football speak myths that should probably be worth busting at the moment. I say a lot of, if Brendan can get him fit. Managers don't get players fit. There's not really anything a manager can do. What's he going to do? Just work him extra hard, force him to do burpees before he trains? It's about the player, and he hasn't bothered doing it for either of his previous clubs. So it doesn't look good, but we're going to at least go with what we've got now.
There's a lot, Melly, and we'll come to the questions in a bit, but there is a lot of the fallout from the transfer window and the fallout from the players that have gone and arrived. There is an awful lot of the solution just being, hey, Brendan, manage harder.
Yeah.
Do more football management. And you're like, well, I mean, presumably the guy was tried really. I mean,
develop Brendan, young players, get work on your system, work on this, do extra training for all the players who have key deficiencies in their sort of player profile makeup. Do all of these things and then go up the road at 5 o'clock like everyone else.
Well, that's it. You imagine Mick coming going, look, Brendan, we've noticed that you start work at 6, and that's really good. We appreciate that. And you're leaving at 7 at night. Fantastic. First one in, last one out. We really can't. But if we were to say, for instance, 5:30 start to 7:30 start, and all of it, we just have our lunch at our desk. I know you sit in the canteen with it. Do you think that's something that could push us up the table a little bit? That's kind of like the vibe you're getting off of this. Just manage harder. Just we sold your
the
good
grind
players.
Set. Brendan needs a new grind set, doesn't he?
Anyway, so we're going to go into the questions here. We went to the Discord, as I said, and the first one is from Dino in the Discord. It's not people's real names, by the way. They're using pseudonyms, so if any of them are rude or anything else, I have to apologise. It's 5 years into the future. Ignore titles and staying ahead of Rangers. How different do you think Celtic will be run? And will anything have changed about the matchday experience? Plus, if you could change anything thinking ahead of 5 years' time, what would it be? P.S. Will they ever fix the banners? So how far have Celtic come in the banners? How far have Celtic come? What was 5 years ago?
So that would be
season?
Neil Lennon. That is, isn't it? Neil Lennon's last season.
Which is ironic as I sit here right now with COVID. So, so quite a lot has changed and quite a lot has not changed in the past 5 years. But Melly, looking forward 5 years, do you see anything different with Celtic?
No, because if you do that and you look back, what was Celtic's problem well, they struggled in Champions League qualifiers, they struggled in the transfer market, they brought in players late, and there didn't seem to be a strategy, and it seemed like we were going through different directors of football, sacking them because they were the problem, when in fact it has now been proven that they're not the problem. Looking in 5 years into the future, do I see anything different? Genuinely, I would hope there would be different, but I just can't see it. I just don't see what they're going to do. What will most likely happen is, look, we'll have a review. We will get to January, we'll try and buy players. We will bring in a lot of loan players, and then we'll get to the end of the season. And what will happen then is a new manager will come in, and then they'll hope the new manager does what Ange does, galvanises everybody, and they forget about what's going on around it. And then that'll be okay for a year or two. Then we'll get into year 3 like we always do, and this will happen again. So do I see
You
anything?
just think we're stuck in an endless cycle of this?
Yeah, I'd love to say, sweeping changes, it's all going to be different. But if I could ask for one thing and one thing only, hot water in the toilets, please.
Listen, if you
Oh,
want
you
a,
really
you
are
want a
looking
first
into the
class
future.
experience, you need to buy a first class ticket. Okay,
Hey, I went to
it.
Ibrox on Sunday and they had hot water in the toilets and we've not got it. Come on.
Jeez, all right, okay, that's going to go down well.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, for me, it's a very quick question answer before I come to you, Stephen. Nothing's going to change in 5 years. I don't think with Dermot Desmond in charge, and just look, the way they obviously see it is, shut up, stop telling us what to do, give us your money. We make mistakes, but we keep winning titles, trophies, and we keep winning the league, and there's lots and lots of money in the bank. So what are you complaining about? And as long as that continues, which it probably will, I don't see a single thing changing about the match day experience. There's not really that much you can change. I mean, short of refurbishing the stadium in any kind of way, I don't think there's anything that will necessarily change there. And will the banners be fixed? Who knows? But it's hilarious. It's
Yeah.
genuinely hilarious that they feel no pressure whatsoever to fix
No.
these banners. Like if you
Months
social
off and they
media,
didn't even bother doing it.
if you social media'd a company and went, "Hey, Greg's, I was just in your Govan store and your sign for sausage rolls has fallen down and someone's wrote, 'You are a dick' on it," within 15 minutes that sign would be replaced.
Oh, you've just given me a great idea for next time I'm at Celtic Park. Man. I won't say what it is.
I'm a hackneyed analogy here, but the point is, there's no pressure on going, the fans will be here next week, we better get this place looking good. And then everyone noticed it doesn't look good, and now it's become a meme how shit that the stadium looks with these, and there's no speed, there's no update, there's no here's why they don't care. So
Yeah.
will the banners be fixed? Probably they'll be fixed and fall down again within 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years from now, well, I think it's key to remember that 5 years is a significant period of time. That's quite a long time, and a lot can happen. But it just doesn't tend to be the case for Celtic. We don't really tend to change much from the general. Well, from top to bottom, we don't really change an awful lot. But in 5 years' time, Dermot Desmond will be in his 80s. Surely Peter Lawwell isn't going to be still involved in the club. I mean, how bleak is this, by the way? How bleak is the question? Not only the framing of the question, which isn't Dino's fault, but our response to it. We are just hot off the heels of demanding change now. Now we want change today, and now we're talking about how in 5 years' time it's probably going to be exactly the same. It's so defeating, but you've got to imagine that Peter Lawwell was not going to be involved. If these guys are still involved in the club in 5 years from now, in the 2030s, which is a made-up sci-fi decade so far, serious problems are afoot. They already are, of course, but the idea that a PLC would have the same board for that length of time is really unthinkable. So you've got to have some sort of faith, or else we'll be all just chucking it just now. We will be as well just chucking it just now, rather. I've got to imagine that things will change. However, here comes the rub. Who is it going to be? Is it just going to be? Yeah. So is it just going to be a Succession style? Right. Dermot Desmond is now in his 80s. He really just wants to be on the golf course no matter what. I mean, what's new? He just sticks his son in charge with all the same sort of beliefs and ideas. It's very hard to imagine anything being significantly different. But I have to hope so. I have to hope so. It can't be Michael Nicholson is not going to be in charge for 5 years, which would take him to
He'll not be in charge for
8
5
years or
months.
something. Yeah. So yeah, those positions, as we recorded in early September, just after the transfer window slammed shut, were untenable at that point. Never mind 5 years from now. I keep catching myself. It sounds worse every time I repeat it. So I've got to hope that things will be different. However, it doesn't really answer the question because I can't really imagine how that manifests itself. I would love to see full, or even an attempt at it, even like the illusion of modernisation from top to bottom. Do you know what? Actually, just to branch off of that, I'll finish up because I know we've got questions to get through. But I treated myself to I didn't see the whole game, but maybe the last 25 minutes of Bruges hammering Rangers a couple
it's
of weeks
brilliant.
ago, right? So I treated myself to that because I'm obsessed, right? I'm an obsessed,
mank,
and I'm
yeah.
obsessed dim, DHIM. So I tuned into it. It turned out the goals had kind of dried up. It was only when I heard that it was 5-0 at half time, I thought, I don't have anywhere to be of a Wednesday evening or whenever it was. I tuned into that, and after the kind of hilarity of them just getting routinely passed around and crosses going into the box and everything, and it just seemed as if it could be as many goals as Bruges wanted. I actually started to feel a little bit bittersweet because, see, watching Bruges play, I thought to myself, they are just about everything I want Celtic to be. They are
Pace,
everything.
power, quality.
I'm going to
Yes.
just ask you to not expand too much on this point because there's a question almost identical.
Really? Okay,
Yes,
so-
that references Bruges.
So I'll cut off here then, but and as a teaser for that potential question, which I don't know anything about, I was very impressed with them. And it's not that Celtic exist in a completely different planet to them. They're just, they are further down the road. Well, actually, to change that analogy, I was going to say they're further down the road than Celtic are. They are going down the road that Celtic refuse to even turn onto.
Yeah.
So I'll stop there if we've got further stuff on that later on.
Just before we move on, 5 years' time, yes or no, will Cal McGregor still be playing in midfield for Celtic?
Of course he will. 90 minutes each and
5
every.
years' time, will Kieran Tierney be able to complete 90 minutes of football?
When's Yang's contract up? Is he still going to
Oh my
be?
God, Johnny Kenny will be here. Has anyone got a contract that long?
2029, Kenny, isn't he?
Yeah.
According to the very popular hashtag when they
There
announced
we go.
it. So yeah.
Do you think we're favourites for the league now? David, not M, says Martin Melly.
Probably. Would I make his favourites? I'm not sure, to be honest. We've got this 6-point gap, but I just see with this Celtic team looking at it now, solid defensively, and that's probably what we're going to need to build the next couple of months on. So we've not let in a goal domestically in the league, which doesn't exactly mean we're flying high at the top end of the pitch, but I look at this Celtic team and I just don't see any dynamism. We're now relying on Balikwisha and Toneki being very good players, and the chances of that happening are probably quite slim, even if one of them's decent. So I think this 6 points might get chipped away, but I do wonder if this will sort of galvanise Brendan Rodgers and the players and just go, right, this is where we are. This is what we've got to work with. We're going to put the effort in and let's just get ourselves over the line game by game. The same as we done under Neil Lennon that first season remember when we went out the Champions League and I said to John Paul, what we're going to do, and he just said 1 game at a time. That's what we're just going to need to do now. We're just going to need to get through it 1 game at a time. And look, it might click because I think Celtic have clicked. And just to go back on what Stephen said there, when I was watching that Club Brugge dismantling Rangers, it was funny, but they were getting players into positions, and I thought, see when under Brendan Rodgers in his first season, second time around, when we got players back fit and we hit our straps towards the end of the season, and with Greg Taylor and Alistair Johnson on those inside positions, whipping balls in, and Adam Maeda was putting in, I said, I can see Celtic getting back to that, and I just hope we can sort of get back to that because we have got the sort of foundations of a good team from defence into midfield. It's just up front I worry about, but I still believe we can do it, but I don't believe it's going to be pretty.
Yeah, indeed. So are we favourites for the league? Yeah, probably. As it stands, I think it's. I know we've had
if Rangers don't win the league, it is going to be very embarrassing.
Yeah. I mean, I know we've had a few setbacks recently, right? Again, I've already listed them: the Rangers, Kyra, and the complete mishandling of the transfer window, which we've spoken about to death now. I said that as if we're finished doing that, but anyway. But
you left a space for more.
yeah. We've had several setbacks now, but I think it's still too early. As we record this, we're into September, and things haven't been great for Celtic. But what I need to see is Rangers have done some business, quite a lot of business. I think they've signed about 13, 14 players or whatever it is, right? And they've spent a lot of money, like for a team that's famously Skintco and all that. They've spent an awful lot of money for who? Is it commensurate? Is it the type of level for the richest club in the universe that they were at a few months ago? Who knows? But I mean, I'm being cheeky about it. We're in no position to be slagging that at the moment after the transfer window we've had. But so take that in the spirit as intended. But I need to see. For example, they signed the new striker, was it Chermiti, I think it is, at Everton. So I need to see if he's good, if he's going to score goals. I don't mean necessarily sit down and watch him, but if the old the Vidi printer, if I see on CFAX that his name is coming up time and again scoring goals, then I'll acknowledge that. I do think they have made some good signings. Gassama, I think, looks good so far. I think
Gassam, Stephen.
Gassam. I don't know what's happened there, but I'll go with
they
it.
Call him Gasman.
Gasman and Ant-Man.
Gasman and Ant-Man.
I'm sure. Like, see when teams are being linked to him, it was actually before he signed for Celtic. I saw it would just come up for a recommendation for me on YouTube. It was him. Behind the scenes, he was doing a sort of day in the life thing where he was at Sheffield Wednesday. Everyone called him Gassama. Every single person called him Gassama to his face. So I don't know what's happened there. But anyway, he looks a good player. Mikey Moore, I think, has potential to be good for him. I've not really seen much of him. He got stuck in it against Celtic. That was about all I really saw of him. So they again, as much as I'm trying to put a relatively positive spin, it certainly didn't sound like it. I tried to put a positive spin on the Iheanacho thing. They could get better. I think Russell Martin looks a complete busted flush. I don't know if they will stick with him, but that would be my fear, that they just get rid of him and get someone that's not even so much better, but just a bit less flaky and with a better idea of what to do with these players. So I think at this moment, I'm not going to get carried away. I think Celtic are still favourites for the league, but I said the other day when we were recording that it doesn't reflect particularly well on anyone, including Celtic, actually, which is a harsh thing to say. And I know in some regards it means they can't win with me, but that's because I'm pissed off with them. But it reflects badly on everyone if Celtic canter this league again, because Celtic have basically, it's going to be like they've stepped on a rake, fallen backwards down the stairs and just found a pot of money or something, like a pot of gold. Like, it's just a pure accident, just pure incompetence of managed to canter the league again. So, but they're still favourites as far as I can tell. I think they're still favourites at this point in time.
I think you went too far, Melly. I mean, what we talking about? I mean, Stephen made the case. Celtic are probably still favourites, but given what happens with Rangers, that might change, and that's an understandable. But what has changed with Celtic? Okay, we've had a disastrous transfer window, but as far as Celtic's concerned, we've sold. We're still doing well in the league. We all were saying that a couple of weeks ago. Celtic are performing well in the league. We went to Ibrox. Okay, we didn't win, but we got a draw. So we've not lost there. Rangers, Russell Martin completely threw all his tactics in the bin. Ended up just getting a draw against Celtic, which is fine. But remember, this is the hallmark of Rangers. Doing well in Celtic games, being pish the rest of the time.
That's true.
So nothing's changed there. We've sold Maeda, who by all accounts everyone thought was a bit shite anyway. So we've got rid of Maeda. So I don't necessarily think... So just looking at the sheer mechanics of the Celtic squad, losing Maeda and bringing in two wingers, that doesn't stop us being favourites for the league anymore, does it?
3-0 in 4 games, but where's the goals coming from? Like, yes, the wingers might be good. Really need to hope they're good, but are you seeing Johnny Kenny getting 20 goals this season? Are you seeing Maeda getting 20 goals this season? Are you seeing Iheanacho getting 20 appearances this season? So it's going to be Daizen in there, and Daizen looked awful up front against Rangers.
Aye.
So I don't necessarily think much has changed for Celtic. But before the transfer window shut, we were screaming out for forward players because it was poor, it was toothless. We mentioned toothless a number of times. Yet we've sold one of our strikers and not replaced them. Well, we have replaced them now in Iheanacho.
Yes, it depends what you consider a replacement.
See my problem, before we move on for this, but see my problem with these printouts or the kind of graphics with all the players on them in their positions, it doesn't really take much into account. It's just a list of players. It's just a list of names. and it's all very much the on-paper version of it, quite literally. It doesn't. What those graphics don't say is that Callum McGregor's been rotten this season. It doesn't take into account that Daizen Maeda can't play up front. They'll just put him there and say class player. Kieran Tierney has been 66% of Kieran Tierney so far, and looks like that's going to continue because he's had a pre-season, he's played friendlies, he's playing games, and he still can't complete games. Kasper Schmeichel has looked a bit ropey as well. I know we're not conceding goals, but these things are more concerns. Engels looks pretty hopeless again this season. I know people are really still to this day determined to defend them, which is fine, but I get it. Bernardo, miles out of the picture. So these are just pictures of players that everyone thinks he's good, but none of that is valid at the moment. So that can all change. That Celtic could hit form. They could easily hit form and just run away with it. But at the moment, that's why this is kind of up in the air.
So that's my worry. You've touched on my worry is that. Are we still favourites? Yeah, I think we are.
Yeah.
I think the Celtic squad have been there and done it, and this is a difficult patch that they're going to have to drag themselves through. My worry is it one too many difficult patches to drag yourself through for the same players? Is the fight, is the hunger there to drag yourselves through this again? And seeing the mess that just unfolded, how demoralising must that be for the squad? How does the manager isolate the squad from that? Because they're all seeing the same stuff we're seeing. They're all sitting at home on deadline day watching Sky Sports News going, surely to God we're bringing somebody else in. You know, Callum McGregor will probably be involved in these discussions about the squad because he's the captain and he's a senior player. He's probably been told, yeah, we're going to bring in a striker. We're looking at this boy for Ajax. We've got an offer accepted, Anderlecht rather. And he's watched him go to Ajax. And then he's watching Iheanacho come in and he's probably knows about him. He's probably doing the same reading the players are looking. They'll be coming in with not an entirely same mindset, but they'll be coming in affected by some of the same stuff that's affecting the fans. And that's my worry. If they're coming in going, what are we doing at this joke club?
Aye.
That can change a wee bit though, because if I'm using this right? If the two new wingers are good, they might go, right, okay, we've got something here. If Iheanacho starts to throw something in training, which that's the longest of all long shots, that might turn things around. The players might go, right, we've got here. And this is where Brendan Rodgers has to push the squad through. But I still think we're favourites for the league on account of how the league started for us. It's not been ideal, but it's been good. It's been better than Rangers. And we've seen that being there and done it. And I think that is a huge thing. Kieran, as the majority are saying this season is a write-off, looking to post Rodgers, would you accept narrowly losing the league or winning just a cup next season, but there was a clear change in vision for the club going forward? So, for example, Law gone, Nicholson gone, a new manager that plays the football we want, and a director of football with a clear plan for the future. Can I just say, I wish we had a button to press. First head loss of the mailbag from Kieran there. This season is not a write-off. Not by...
No.
I'm not prepared to write the season off. I don't think it's a write-off in any kind of way. Not prepared to say that.
Depends what you mean. Because the board have chucked it. So there's certainly no progress there. Brendan Rodgers, despite the fact he said that if this is just about maintaining, he's not the man for the job. This season is about maintaining.
Oh yeah, true.
Quite literally is. Unless something miraculous happens and we go and win the Europa League. We've done nothing better. There's no hope of doing better than last season unless you win a treble. Done those. Again, I don't want to be like too defeatist about it, but it's extraordinarily blunt language to use to call it a write-off. But at the same time, when you face the reality and the consequences of where the board have put us, and it's not pointless, but
he can write it off, can't he? Because if I don't know Kieran's circumstances, but if he goes, do you know what? I've had enough. I'm not getting my Europa League package. I'm not going back. That's the season written off for him in September, and you can't really blame MD for that, can you?
Yeah. Aye. The write off. I don't. It's not a write off, but it's. I think people need to be given time to get over this deflation, and then it might change when we get back to the football. So it might completely change. Although what we're going to need to do is probably put up with quite a lot of toxicity in the air when it comes getting back to the football. But it's not a complete and utter write off, as in there's no even any point in paying attention to it. But on several levels, just going by people's words, it is already a failure on fairly terminal grounds, really, in some ways. But there are things still to play for. So what was the
So
meat of the
it's really,
question?
would you take the step back to go forward? So if next year was seen post Rodgers, I think what Kieran's getting at is post Rodgers, you don't win much, but you see there's a club in transition. You see that we're bringing in a director of football, new manager, playing some football. Would you accept that? I think overall, I probably. It depends how this season goes, because if we win the league this season, but next season we don't, but it's a transition, I don't know if I would necessarily accept that. I would want one to roll onto the other. So I think overall I've got to be honest and say, would I accept Luke? It's such a top.
Yeah. I mean, it's all hypothetical, isn't it?
Maybe.
People would watch this and think, "Oh, I can't believe they've said that. They would willingly give up." It's not real. Nothing will happen off the back of this. It's just a little fun gag, a little fun goof. What's the exact framing of the question then? Would I sacrifice effectively a league or just win a cup if it meant the following season I was guaranteed the total modernisation from top to bottom that I sort of teed up earlier? If that was the deal with the devil,
yes,
I had to make. I would do it. Can I live with just losing? Aye, I can, because
you don't want to get to that 10 in a row chat, do you, Stephen?
Oh God, aye, God, that's aye. We can forget that for the time being as well.
How far down that road are we? Maybe is this the halfway mark?
We've got four
if we
so
win.
far. Yeah, we've got four. God's sake, I know. Again, another one for the 2030s from 5 years. 5 years from now. So. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm sure this will be construed as if I'm actually out there actively campaigning to lose the league so that we can change things. But would I be able to sacrifice a season and then come back and everything? We're actually a proper, like, ambitious European club. Yeah, I would. I think that's a reasonable sacrifice to make. I've seen Celtic win. I've been very, very lucky and privileged enough to see Celtic win loads of leagues now. Can I survive not doing it for one season? Aye, I'm tough. I'm a big man.
Martin?
I've probably go down the same route as Stephen. You never want to win the league, and you can look at it and go, like, it's Scotland. It doesn't take much to challenge and have that transition season. We've seen Ange do it. But if the question is, would you take it? I would, because this isn't. Look, Celtic are still winning, but this isn't great, is it? Like, you want your football team to be the best it can be. You want to think, like, I'm putting my bit in. Am I getting back that? And you're not. And see if Celtic were to go out, get a director of football, sort of change, go and try and buy players that make sense instead of scrambling about or phoning agents. I would love that, and I think it would set Celtic off better than if they just continued bumbling
So
along.
like a sacrifice type thing. It would be like you'd sacrifice that one to then go into greater things.
Yeah,
in effect.
Because this club's going nowhere now. They'll win the Scottish League most times, but they'll not do anything out with that. If we were to change and try and modernise, there's a chance we can do something.
So in effect, what we're doing is we're being asked to give up the maintenance.
6.
Yeah, well, I don't care about the 10 in a row thing, right? It's like we're asked to give up the maintenance that Brendan Rodgers has already said he's not interested in. So it's not just coming from us. Brendan Rodgers, the manager, already said he's not interested in maintenance. We're giving that up for a chance at proper excitement and proper like satisfaction coming from your season and making an actual attempt at becoming something bigger than we currently are. That's the crux of the question here, and I think that's an easy take for me. We're being asked to give up doing the same thing every season, blah, 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 blah. Brendan Rodgers, again, as I said, he's already stated he's not interested in that. We're being asked to buy into Brendan Rodgers' vision for the club here at the cost of one league. Definite take for me.
So here's one from Walesy then. It was mentioned before that all it takes, and we have mentioned this before, is us having one shite transfer window and one Rangers having one good one to go on and win the league. Is this that window?
Yeah, that's an interesting one because it's something we've already kind of spoken about. I suppose I've already maybe kind of popped the balloon of that question a little bit by saying that I kind of need to see it. I've maybe just been going over old ground.
Well,
I need to see these players.
Following on from that last question, are Rangers right now, where are they at that question? because they've brought in a director of football, they've got new owners, they've brought in a manager that's got a style of play, and they're going out and getting players for that manager they've brought in, like a dozen players of that. So have they not done all that bit, and then we just need to see how it goes for them? Hopefully disastrous, but you can look, you can understand why Rangers fans are raging. A lot of my mates are done with Russell Martin already, but you can also see like this is an opportunity for them, because Celtic, they're not going to have a better chance at this. They are where we were just talking about we want Celtic to be. It doesn't seem hard to get to that point, does it? So if Rangers were to go on a decent run, like everybody remembers that, I don't think he's like Ange Postecoglou, but Ange lost his first 3 games, then went on a brilliant run. It's Scottish football. It's not that hard to win games. So if you can get yourself on a run, you can get there.
So you're saying something that I've been saying for years, and it's at the point where I'm like, is it me that's putting the argument along incorrectly? Because what I've been saying for years is every single iteration of Rangers, regardless of who owned them in the past couple of years or the manager they've had, they've backed to their manager. The managers went, I need the players, I need these players for these positions, and specifically him, and him. And Rangers, because they don't know any better, have just went, right, we need to trust this guy because all of us don't know anything about football. Let's just go out and do it. And it's been a disaster for them because it turns out that their managers didn't know much about football either.
Yeah.
And I'd be saying, that's what Celtic need to do. And every time I bring that up, people go, aye, but Rangers are shite. Look at all the players they've signed are shite. I'm talking about the mechanics of the situation. I'm not talking about going out and signing shite players.
Ideally, don't sign the shite players.
We're doing that anyway. So.
We're doing that anyway. I'm
saying a different way.
The mechanic. I'm saying I want to see Brendan go, I need 5 players, 3 wingers, and Mr. X and Mr. Y. Can you go out and buy them? And our board shutting the F up, getting the checkbook out and just going and buying the guys for the manager. And if that fails, that's fine. But at least you know who to pin the blame on. You blame the manager, you sack him, you move on. So you've touched on that, Mellies. Every time I say that, I say, we should be more like Rangers in that regard. You know, we should really back the manager. Aye, but they signed shite players. Okay, but I'm not saying shite the shite ones. I'm saying do it, but
do you want to go bust, Jamie? Is that what you want? You want to go bust like that lot?
Aye. Stephen, have you got anything to add to this question?
So where were we again? Sorry, we ended up going back to the kind of previous question on this. So where are we with this one?
Oh, I've deleted it. I've deleted it already, so I can't see it. I'm just sitting quietly hoping you remembered.
But what? Because we ended up, Melly, you immediately went back to the previous question. So what was it?
It doesn't
Is
matter.
it about Rangers getting their shit together, isn't it?
Oh,
it's the bad transfer window, good transfer window.
Yes, of course, it was the bad transfer window. Well, I get where I was going originally before we kind of branched off that and then made a bit of a boo-boo, which I think we got away with. I don't think anyone would have noticed that there, right? No. We forgot the question at hand and then deleted it. But again, I don't think anyone noticed it. So it ties back into, not only does it tie back into the question you acknowledged me, like it ties back into what I said earlier about Rangers, and it could click for them. So they've gone for it this transfer window undeniably. Whether that works out or not is in the balance for a number of reasons, because traditionally in football it doesn't really work all that often to go out and get over a dozen players and then just try and throw them all together. But at this point in their history, They've tried everything else. They've tried the long-term stability. They may as well absolutely go for it in ways we've kind of described already. They've just backed this guy and thought, right, well, we're all going over the cliff together. So it could, if they've somehow managed to get in that 13 or 14 players or however many it is they've signed, if they get like 5 that are really of a good standard that can compete in this league, that could make a big difference. It could make a big difference because Celtic they've kind of chosen not to do that. Again, I don't want to drag us fully back into the transfer window, but that's what the question's about. We've chosen not really to improve to any great degree. I leave aside the fact that I've not seen I have seen Balakusha play, but no, one game isn't going to do it. Tsunekti I've not seen play at all. So those guys could make a huge difference. Tsunekti looks like a guy who can take players on and will willingly do that quite a lot. So that could make a huge difference for Celtic because it's something we severely lack at times. Is this a bad enough window to completely derail the season, or not even so much that, to let Rangers in? It could be, because it was a bad one. It was a bad window.
Who would you rather, Miovski Chimetti and Danilo, or Yamada, Kenny and Iheanacho?
Hey, then you can't ask us that in a Celtic podcast because the answer would be the three Rangers strikers.
Never, mate. Absolutely no chance. Right.
See, just following on for this, there's a few questions in here, so I'm just going to sort of capture the mood about one. But Burger's asked, and a few people did ask in the chat, like, would the gist of it being, would Rangers winning the league actually force Dermot's hand? And do you know what? Historically, that's really the only thing that ever has.
It's the only thing that makes it to his
It's
desk.
only, it
apparently.
only changes the manager, but there's not much else changes.
I know we're sort of in this cycle of great success. It all goes tits up. We rebuild. The rebuild lasts 5 years. It goes tits up. We rebuild it again. It's kind of that seems to be the Celtic cycle, moving on from like Ronnie Dyla and then Brendan leaving and 10 in a row and COVID. So I do kind of think in a weird way that, see, as long as Celtic are winning the league and doing all right elsewhere, Desmond's probably quite happy. I think the minute that crown falls off, or that trophy doesn't arrive at Celtic Park, then he wakes up and goes, bloody hell, we need to do something about this.
People are laughing at him on the golf course now.
Yes.
Instead of kissing his arse constantly. It could be. It's a very different, again, a different framing of the question to, would I sacrifice a league to, will it take that? So, I mean,
you think that? Do you think losing the league would force Desmond's hand is the sort of gist of it?
See, at this stage, I wonder. Yeah, it might propel him into action, but what is that? What is the action?
Bring in a new manager, give him some money.
Bring in a manager that he is personally handpicked again, probably. Maybe spend a bit, put the PR machine into absolute overdrive and try again, we've hit all those buttons, haven't we? We've hit all the big red buttons that are available in front of Dermot Desmond have all been pressed over the years, and the main one was Brendan Rodgers twice now. What's next? So, will it spring? Yeah, well, that's probably it. But again, I don't want that as much as I loved that. There's two of my favourite seasons ever, right? As much as I loved that, yeah, I'd no interest in going back the way yet again. But to answer the question, yes, it probably would spring Dermot Desmond into action. We absolutely must do something. I just wonder what tools he has available at this point, because I think he's kind of used them all.
You're right, aren't you? It's kind of just like, what ideas have you got in the mind brain that you've not already put into action? And he doesn't. He's got one idea, and it's find a good manager, as Melly said, give him a bit of money, and then just ignore it for
David
a
Moyes or something like that. Is he just going to I don't know how many.
Oh God!
I don't know how many modern football ideas Dermot Desmond possibly, or I don't mean to be patronising to an enormously successful businessman here, but I don't know what modern ideas he can possibly have that Celtic haven't already thought of at this point.
And why he gets to implement them on a club that he only owns a certain percentage of. It's bizarre. Kev F wants to know, this is a good one, how much of an impact do you think the public humiliation from this window will have on future recruitment? And maybe more importantly, securing a good replacement from Rodgers. Melly, I think that this was a football disaster for Celtic. I think it's been a PR disaster for Celtic. I think it makes us, and probably within industry circles, it looks like pure amateur hour. It's, as you touched on, Stephen, in the flagship, it's everything we've heard whispers about, everything ex-players have said about Celtic, pushed into the light. I think, Melly, it's going to have a real detrimental effect.
I saw just before that, just on the very specific subject of the kind of word gets around part of it now, I saw Daniel Storey had written an article about how bad a window Celtic had having the growing unrest and all that. So it is.
Who's that for those who don't know?
Daniel Storey is, I chiefly know him.
4 books out or something?
Yeah, I chiefly know him as a contributor on Totally Football, which is a mainly English and European based podcast, but I think is he The Athletic as well? I'm not sure, but he wrote for a website about the state that Celtic find themselves in after yet again the series of events that have led to us recording this podcast. Cara Almaty, Rangers in the transfer window, all those things. So it's starting to get outside of the usual, the goldfish bowl, the kind of Scottish mainstream media bubble. It's starting to reach outside of that to any general just football observers, because it's a big club floundering around looking silly.
Yeah, and again, like I said on Monday or Tuesday even, wasn't it? No smoke without fire. People aren't just going to go about making up stories that Celtic are a nightmare to deal with. They don't answer phone calls. They just leave players in the lurch. they agree deals, then go back on it and put in lower bids for them. This is why we need change at Celtic, because if we bring in another manager, the other manager has to work with the same people in the background and go, that's the player I want, and then turning up 4 weeks later with a completely different player that maybe wasn't even on a list. That's why this for me needs to be a clear out time, because we cannot have another window where we go into this. We've fooled ourselves every single window that Rodgers has been here, from the first one right to the one that's just finished. Every time a window closes, we need to fix things, we need to tighten up, we need to do differently. And then every time a window closes, the same things have happened. We've missed out on players, or even still, it's regressing. We're actively not bringing in players instead of getting down to plan Z. We're completely missing out on a left back 1 January, a striker in January there. And now again, we went into it with 2 strikers needed, and we got one a day after the window shut.
Yeah.
So it's going to have a
Half
big
the couch.
effect.
No.
It's a big effect on Celtic, because you talk about it all the time, Jamie. Word does get around. Agents talk, and now we're getting told that certain agencies and people don't want to deal with Celtic anymore. So the talent pool that Celtic are looking for players in is ever dwindling down, so that
Yeah.
you can only work with certain agents. We're going to be back at Dudu Dahan soon.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
God.
these things, these minor things, minor to major things that all to do that.
That name, man, I forgot about that name.
Pill, so. And that's exactly what I meant earlier on. This that Iheanacho was like a Lennon level
Mind
signing.
he was on
Oliver
the pitch on
Capo,
trophy
Freddie
day one
Lundgren.
day.
Capo.
Duhan on the pitch and trophy day. Like,
That's
Do you even think the guys, on an actual, do you even think anyone knows, or do you think he even knows he signed for Celtic? Because there was just an announcement on social media, and then some quotes from Brendan Rodgers when he said, "Oh, well, luckily we've got this guy in his peak."
He called him
you said-
athletic.
Massively AI in it.
I know.
There's no way Brendan Rodgers has spoken about any of these players. He's on holiday, will not speak until the football's back, and they've just typed up a couple
made
of
something
blurbs.
up. But there's nothing from any actual, no quotes from him going, "I'm pleased to be here," whatever.
Get the interview with Jerry out.
Maybe this is the final form of Celtic's dealings in the transfer window. They have signed someone without that player's knowledge, and if he puts up any sort of protest about it, they're just going to say, "Well, you've got nothing better to do, mate. You're now unemployed, so get yourself
This
along
is
to
an
the
AI
next."
signing, isn't it? It's just, who can we still get? Go and get him.
Do you know,
Write out a wee blurb about him. There you go.
do you know what's? Do you know what we've not had, which would really put the cherry on the cake for this one? And what we've not had for ages is like a player that goes AWOL or goes rogue or something.
Right? Yeah.
You know, like that. You don't really. Do you get that so much anymore?
Oh, imagine he's on international duty and he just doesn't come back.
Quite a lot of it in England in this summer window. They've the most expensive British-based player of all time went on something resembling
Basically,
a strike.
yeah. So
Johan
I just
Wissa
wonder-
at Brentford did the same. Yeah.
No, aye.
Imagine we've signed him, put the announcement out, but he just never appears at Celtic.
Viduka, is it?
Aye, like
that'd be-
Viduka or
that'd
something.
be incredible.
Just never appear. I'm sure Mark Bosnich's done something similar, maybe not to us, but whatever. They've gone back a long time then, I know.
So,
yes, carry on.
Oh, sorry. So on the question itself, this can definitely be damaging. It definitely can be, because these things, whether it's minor to major, all the little things that went wrong, or the little to big things that went wrong in that transfer window, they don't exist in a bubble. They're not. Word does get around, and even things as small as having dicked around Yang and Ida. That's the type of stuff that gets out there, especially now that Yang's back in that dressing room.
Yeah.
Everyone's. I'm not saying that everyone's going to be furious with the board and are going to down tools and refuse to win a league because they mistreated Yang, but
there was a question about that, about how the Yang thing would maybe affect the squad.
Well, yeah,
It's their mate, innit?
things like that can just damage ever so slightly. Just take 5% off the morale and just damage the overall culture of the dressing room and the club, and it's just stuff like that just starts to seep in. It's not like, see these clubs that struggle. Man United is the prime example of it. Right? Stuff like that doesn't happen overnight. It makes seem like Alex Ferguson came out of it and then everything fell apart, but it's just. Over the course of a decade, just little things have started to seep in that have damaged the culture of the club to the point where it now looks irreparable. I'm not saying that's happening to Celtic, but it's a study. It's like a case in point of how damaged or damaging it can be for a club. So there's no doubt, especially like it's not. It's the reason I say it doesn't exist in a bubble or a vacuum is because we don't get to see when it hits 11 o'clock on the 1st of September. Right, that says normal. Everyone just forget about that.
Yeah,
Windows shut. Deal with
Everyone's
it.
memories wiped.
Yeah, so Brendan Rodgers clearly pissed off. Callum McGregor clearly pissed off. Several players who were dicked about in the window clearly pissed off. So all of
these
that,
guys that were promised loans.
Yeah.
What's happening with their career now?
Of course, guys who were again. I bring up the Enamura point because that guy has he's been given a really good opportunity, and he's had he's had some time of it already, basically. But his career's been in utter turmoil. Both twice, maybe publicly questioned by Brendan Rodgers, but he's only been honest about it. So he's been brought from the other side of the world, dumped into a squad that doesn't really seem to want him or really is prepared to accommodate him, and then you can't get him alone. So he's probably going to end up playing against, with all due respect, students and mechanics and posties and all that in the Lowland League. Again, look, that's not anyone's fault. So it's all very strange behaviours that might add up to just a general malaise behind the scenes. Not anyone. I don't mean to suggest anyone's going to go on strike or anything like that. But it's just, again, it can just start to permeate the atmosphere of a club and a dressing room. So that's the internal version. But externally, certainly, you've already covered it about transfers. Just Celtic getting a reputation has been shite to deal with. That's definitely going to damage things in future. Or it's going to, or clubs. Just speculation here. Clubs might deal with Celtic in the future, but they're going to make them pay absolutely through the arse for it, just for the inconvenience of how bad.
So there was a rumour. There was a rumour doing around. So to just touch on, we've got one more question left, and it's the Club Brugge question because I think it's a really good one. So there was a rumour going about that Celtic piss about with these transfer fees, and this is where you and I had the discussion mainly about whose fault was it? Is it Desmond? Is it Michael Nicholson? Is it someone else's? And I'm at the point where I think, like, if transfers are failing, then it's not the guy who's got control of the purse strings, because he's already, if we're putting in bids if we've agreed a fee with Anderlecht for the striker, then as far as I'm, in my mind, what's happened is Desmond, go ahead, spend the money for talking's sake. If we don't then spend it, or we don't get the deal done, that's the problem with the guy who's in charge of getting deals done. I think that's fair. But there was a rumour that I heard today from someone who, by all accounts, pretty reputable source, and it went along the lines of the Kieran Bowie thing. And Celtic contacted him saying, how much do you want for Kieran Bowie? And they went, well, we'd be willing to part with him for somewhere in the region of £8 million. Celtic apparently hashed out, I'm paraphrasing here, but it was on the Celtic Underground podcast if you want to go back. No, the RGC podcast if you want to go back and listen to it. Paraphrasing, but Celtic cobbled together a deal where it was like $4.5 million up front plus bonuses, which more or less made up the deal. Hibs agreed to that, and then when the offer actually came through, it was like £1.8 million. And it was like that. I mean, I was up. I feel like I've referenced this press conference way too much. It doesn't have that much significance. But the chat up there was that Celtic were buying this guy from Anderlecht on Friday, and Brendan wanted him in the squad for the Rangers game. Yeah. So the money's been approved. Everyone thinks this guy's coming to Celtic. Come the Monday, and he's signing for Ajax. So that sort of behaviour. It is just. To me, it's really amateur, and I think it will. If you're a new manager coming into Celtic, you're going to really want assurances about how the transfer stuff works, because it's been the top story associated with Celtic for years. If you're a player coming into Celtic, you really want assurances about if a club comes in for me, are you really going to sell me, or are you going to make me drive to Birmingham, sit in a petrol station sipping Costa coffee for 8 hours and then ask me to come back up the road because you can't sell me because you can't get my replacement? Oh, by the way, 2 of my replacements have arrived. I don't doubt
£8 for service station sandwiches and everything, man. You'd be fuming, absolutely fuming coming back up.
I don't doubt it does harm the reputation. So Daddy Junkie is asking us, what would the people running at Celtic need to do to become a club like Club Brugge? We've had business people running everything, so of course all they care about is the financial well-being of the club. They seem to not be maximising our football potential as anything of worth, even though that's what the fans want. how do you get people running things that genuinely have the same priority as fans and not have an insatiable thirst for huge profits, which they should actually be embarrassed about, as we're a football club, not a business reliant on shareholder investment.
No
So
utility for massive amounts of liquid cash sitting in bank accounts at all.
How
It's
do you
just...
turn Celtic into Brugge? And the answer for me, I'm not going to talk very long on it, it's very simple. Desmond needs to go, because Club Brugge is probably run by football people who have a vision for the football club, whereas Celtic are run by a guy who treats it like a badge of honour to talk about at the golf course, as you say, Stephen. It's like having a super yacht or a helicopter. That's how it is. It's
conversation
a
starter.
It's a
an
bauble
expensive
for a
watch.
a rich guy. I can't verify this at all, but I saw someone made the point on social media that Desmond actually owns a share of Shamrock Rovers, and actually they're a really well run club and they punch above their weight, particularly in Europe. And he goes, how come it's all right for one but not the other? So you need that change of ownership for that to happen.
It quite nicely brings quite a few issues together, this type of questioning anyway, because I was thinking about that when you were talking about Michael Nicholson allegedly at this point. It's one of those ones where there's so many sources all saying the same thing that it doesn't necessarily mean it's absolutely 100% true, because we all get those forwarded many times WhatsApp rumours. And how many times has Brendan Rodgers resigned since the transfer window?
Today.
Three today.
Three today ahead of the AGM tomorrow, which isn't tomorrow.
So pinch of salt always with these things, but the only reason I would ever even give any of these things credence or acknowledge them at all is if they're coming from multiple sources. The stuff about Michael Nicholson allegedly just kind of rug pulling clubs a wee bit and offer, like, kind of try to do them. It's like one of these reality shows about like antiques or something like that. Just all of a sudden just offer them slightly less to see if they go for it. It's so bizarre. It made me, this is going to be one of the weirdest comparisons ever made on the podcast. But you know the thing about Ridley Scott is that he was so well respected in his early career because what he did was he delivered films, good films, well made, but he always delivered them on time and under budget. So studios absolutely loved him, or the studio absolutely loved him for that. So I think there's an element of that with Michael Nicholson. He might get the okay from Dermot Desmond to go and spend X amount, but he's desperate to go back and say, by the way, Dermot, I nailed that for significantly less than you.
Where did he learn from? Peter Lawwell, who done the exact same.
And it's probably Desmond that does it. He goes, look, I'm prepared to spend 10 million quid on this guy, but don't dare make that your first offer. What are you doing? Are you mental? Which is a negotiating tactic. It's fine. And maybe there is a culture within Celtic where if we just went and bought 10 million quid on that, then Michael Nicholson would get hauled up in front of the manager, or hauled up in front of Desmond, and Desmond would go, I'm looking through the emails.
But why is he getting hauled up in front of him? He shouldn't be. It's no Desmond's place.
No.
Well, the why is a different story. But that's what I'm getting at is, there might be a scenario where Dermot goes, I'm looking through the emails, because he will have access to his computer. The first offer you sent was 10 million. That's our last offer. The first offer's 5, and if they don't take that, you come back in 8 weeks. And there's maybe just this too clever by half.
I think it is that, because see if you're doing anything like that, like Dolberg, if Celtic are going in for Casper Dolberg, they should get a feel for his agent. This is how much he'll cost, and this will be his wages. So say it was 8.5 million, so you'll get him for 8.5 million. How you structure that is up to you and how you come to negotiations. Going in at 4 million, that's likely to get you laughed out like it is with the rest of them. And this is where the problems lie at Celtic. You go in at 4 million, but you're willing to go up to 8.5. In the time it takes you to get up to 8.5 is 2-3 days later, when we see Ajax have sold a player to Sunderland, which means they need a striker. They need somebody in quick. What we're going to do, we can go and get back and get an ex-player at a good age for a good fee. Right, we'll go and do it. And as soon as that happens, the parallels between the Dolberg and the Maeda thing, we are constantly told it's hard to do deals. We negotiate hard. Swansea came in, put in a bid. He's down doing a medical, and the only thing that held that deal up was Celtic. It wasn't the negotiations. So you're watching one guy leaving the club because I think we only heard about Swansea having genuine interest very late in the week, and then a day or two later he's down doing a medical. Yet Celtic are going in for these guys. Friday, Dolberg, Brendan, there was talk about him starting on Sunday. Yet we get to Monday night and we've not even had a bid accepted.
No.
So it's all down to Celtic. The only way this is going to change is a clear out. And look, it's a bad team to use as an example, but Man United, when Jim Radcliffe came in, he's been terrible, right? He's been done daft things at getting rid of people. But what he has done is go out and go, right, I want that guy from Man City, the Barada, is it?
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Man City. He went and got Dan Ashworth, one of the most reputable
Newcastle, wasn't it? Yeah.
director of footballs. He then went and got Jason Wilcox from Southampton. He brought in the best football people. Now, it didn't work out with Ashworth, and that was another catastrophe. But he went out and got the best football people for the best positions. Celtic don't have any of these positions filled. We don't have any of that. Never mind bringing in a director of football, because it's not just a director of football we need. We need a director of football. We lost a head of recruitment in Mark Law. We've never replaced him either.
No.
So Celtic need to go out and get the best football people we can in these positions. Not people's mates, not people that they know, the best people they can get. It's not difficult. Do it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think the Brugge example is a good one because, look, there are clubs that you want your team to look like Real Madrid or Liverpool or PSG or Man City or whatever it is. But I think Brugge are I could just get stuck between the two there. But I think they're a good example because I could see it. See, when I was watching them totally dismantle Rangers,
£6-7 million players.
I could see it, and it's not that far away. Celtic are just unwilling to go down that route. I take into account that there will be different economic reasons and a number of factors that Celtic maybe can't be exactly like that. Whether it's TV deals, whether it's just a lack of homegrown talent that's coming through. Loads of stuff could probably go into it. But they're not trying. They're just saying it. They're just saying world-class club. We do everything the best way. It's just words. And I looked at the Bruges team and I thought, do you know what? I'm just switching between the two there. I just
yes.
But
it's like his Rogic and Rogic.
Yeah. I watched the team play and I thought that's just everything I want Celtic to be. And again, it's not like they're the best team in the world. They are just the best version of a.
What would they do to Celtic right now?
Right now, I think we did very well to draw with them last season, and then this is the worst team. So yeah, I think they would
get battered.
Absolutely dismantled. Bloodbath, I think it would be. So, and why I thought that is not because they've got the best players in the world. It's because they have all the things that Celtic say they want. It's height and athleticism, and crucial to all of this. I don't want to fall into that trap of thinking, oh, here we go, winning headers and all that. No. Technical proficiency, number one. That's number one. They're all good technically, and they all marry that to being athletic specimens that you're not going to get shoved off the ball. You're not going to be dead slow. You're not going to be. But it's unfortunate that I need to come up with examples, but you're not going to be Lewis Palmer. You're not going to be Gustav Lagerbielke. Those players just wouldn't figure into the recruitment there. So they had all those things. They had a winger that I think they brought on, actually. I think they brought on a winger on the left, and every single time just torched whoever was near him, whether it was one player, whether he was getting doubled up on.
He came on for Forbes, didn't he, that Celtic were linked with?
That's right.
That would be lovely, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so just went to players every single time he picked up the ball, every single time he entered the box, just skipped past someone, whether he beat them once or twice or whatever, hit the byline, and either he was like forcing people to make panic tackles. I just went, this is what I want for Celtic. And it's the reason they're such a good specific example is because it's not a million miles away. We just need to start again and go down that road.
What you just said, I can imagine being Brendan Rodgers' pitch on the first day to the board.
Yes.
Easily.
Yeah.
I can imagine word for word. I want pace, athleticism, I want technical players, I want to hit that byline, I want to be aggressive, I want us to be agile when it comes to player trading. And no bother. Yeah, we want that too, Brendan. And they've just got no idea how to facilitate it. So that's it. So that's the answer to that question, and it's the one we all want now. Bruges are going to quickly become the next Bodo Glimt. They're going to be quickly become the next sort of team that we sort of
Atalanta, just one of these,
just enviously cast our eye upon as another probably missed opportunity. Listen, thank you so much to everyone involved in the Discord that sent us in a questionnaire. Apologies for my constant sniffing and coughing.
What a pro, though! Got to say, round of applause. I'll just leave a couple of seconds of silence here, just so everyone can just appreciate it. I appreciate just a round of applause. That'll do. Thank you very
I've
much.
got, I've got a real throwback. Got myself COVID. Thank you so much to you guys that support us on the Patreon international break. I mean, you got this as a flagship of a wee while later than everyone else. So if you want early access to stuff as well, check out patreon.com/20minute Tims. And we'll speak to you very, very soon.